What's going on, guys? Welcome to what is no longer Titan Town but now Next Level Sports. Now don't get me wrong, I still love my Tennessee Titans, but I decided to take the channel in a different direction. So if you love college football, NFL football, and the NFL draft, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for all the best NFL draft coverage. Now I almost decided to do this during the 2020 offseason, but I decided I didn't want to jump in and start in the middle of the draft process, so I wanted to start on a fresh, clean slate. So without further ado, let's jump into today's video. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you my top 50 big board headed into the 2020 college football season. Now, of course, this is going to change as we get into the seasons and the games start to actually get played. There's going to be some players on this list that fall. There's going to be some players on this list that rises. And there's not even going to be some players on this list who are going to make this list and maybe even jump up very high on this list. Joe Burrow is a perfect example, who was the #1 overall pick in this past draft. Headed into the season, he was looked at a 6th round pick at the very highest. So let's go ahead and jump into this. No surprise, at #1 overall, we have Trevor Lawrence, the quarterback out of Clemson. This guy has the perfect quarterback size, very prototypical, even has a little bit of athleticism to boot. And not only that, this guy is a winner. The only team that he has lost to throughout his college football career is the Joe Burrow-led LSU Tigers, and that's the only game he has ever lost. He come into Clemson as a freshman and just absolutely took that job over from Kelly Bryant. So for that reason, he comes in at #1 on this list. #2, we have an offensive tackle, Penei Sewell. I may not be saying his name correctly, and I've watched tape on these guys, and a lot of times there's not any sound on the tape. It's just footage of them. So if I don't say a name correctly, don't hang me for it. But Penei Sewell would have been the best offensive tackle in this past draft class. He has the size, the length, the athleticism, and he has yet to give up a sack in college football. Will he be able to continue that streak? We're going to find out in the 2020 college football season. At #3, we have Ja'Marr Chase. He would have been the best wide receiver, arguably, in this past draft class. You could have put CeeDee Lamb or Jerry Jeudy or even Henry Ruggs in the same category as this guy. But he is the most well-rounded. He has the size, he has the speed, he has the route running ability, he can track the football, he can run after the catch. There's a lot of things that this guy does very great, and that's for that reason he comes in at #3 on this list. At #4, we have a linebacker, Micah Parsons out of Penn State. This is a guy that I've been watching since he was a freshman. He's very athletic, has size to him, plays very aggressive and physical. He really caught my eye when he was a freshman, and I can't remember who the running back was he tackled, but he laid a pop on him. One of the hardest hits I've seen in college football ever. I would even compare it to that hit Jadeveon Clowney had against Michigan while he was in college. He can play sideline to sideline, very physical against the run, and he can even do some things in coverage, and for that reason, he comes in at #4 on this big board. At #5, we have the next quarterback on our list, Justin Fields out of Ohio State. Fields is a guy who is smart with the football. He doesn't turn it over a ton. He's got some athleticism to him. He can escape the pocket, improvise, he can run. He's got a big arm as well. So for that reason, he comes in at #5 on our big board. At #6, we have a quarterback coming from a smaller school in Trey Lance. Now, if you watch YouTube and you've been watching a little bit of 2021 draft coverage on YouTube, which I haven't watched a ton, but I've watched a little bit. But I've seen several people talking about the battle for the #1 quarterback being between Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields. But for me, I think Trevor Lawrence has that job pretty much locked up, and I'm really struggling on who I want my quarterback to be between Justin Fields and Trey Lance. Trey Lance has yet to throw an interception in college football. He has athleticism, accurate with the football, has a big arm. The only real knock that I have against him from the limited tape I've watched on him so far is that he plays against smaller competition. But other than that, very solid quarterback and could end up being my #2 quarterback in this draft very easily. We'll be watching both these guys very closely come the 2020 college football season. At #7, we have Patrick Surtain, cornerback out of Alabama. This guy has the size and the length. He can play physical, he can press his man at the line of scrimmage, but he really excels in man coverage. You can put him in, he can do a little bit of zone as well, but his best fit would be with a team who does a lot of man coverage. And he even did fairly well against Ja'Marr Chase when LSU played Alabama. Of course, Chase, beat him a lot of times, but for the most part, he held his own against Ja'Marr Chase and other wide receivers as well. At number 8, this is the one that I put in the title and that I said at the beginning of the video was going to shock you. Kenneth Gainwell, running back out of Memphis. And I'm sure you're shocked about that, but Kenneth Gainwell is the lifeblood of the Memphis offense. He can catch the ball. He can run the ball. He has power. He has speed. He can work as a return man. He can line up at slot receiver. He even lines up on the outside a little bit. He can take snaps out of the Wildcat. I have a comparisons video coming up later on in the week, so be sure you subscribe and come back for that. You're really going to want to see who I have Kenneth Gainwell compared to. But I really love Kenneth Gainwell. He would have been my number 1 running back in this past year's draft class. And I didn't even think he was draft eligible this year until I had to go back and look. He redshirted as a freshman. His freshman year is when Darrell Henderson and Tony Pollard were both there. And there was even a third running back who he went undrafted and signed with the Green Bay Packers. For some reason, his name is escaping me right now. Comment it below and let me know what it is if you know off the top of your head. And he was expected to come in and be the lead back after he was even able to work in a timeshare with those other 2 backs in Memphis the year prior. But he suffered an injury, and Kenneth Gainwell come in and took that job and was the lifeblood of the Memphis offense. Antonio Gibson, who was a 3rd-round pick by the Washington Redskins in the 2020 NFL Draft, was the 3rd option on this Memphis team. The only real concern that I have with Kenneth Gainwell headed into the season is their head coach took a job with Florida State, so we're not sure what the new scheme is going to look like, if it's going to be built around him, if he will excel in it. But if he does, which I do suspect he will, he should be the top running back in this class, and the national media has not been covering this guy yet. I don't know if it's because they haven't really looked too deep in him or if they even know who he is yet, but this guy is going to be a guy who skyrockets up draft boards through the 2020 college football season. At number 9, we have Marvin Wilson, the defensive tackle out of Florida State, where the Memphis coach is now coaching at. This guy is a defensive tackle who has some pass rush ability. If he would have declared for the 2020 NFL Draft, he would have very likely been the 3rd defensive tackle off the board, probably a 1st-round pick. He's got some size to him, he's got some power, and he's got some pass rush ability. So we're going to see if he can take his game. He returned to college to get another year of development because the NFL doesn't really develop players. They expect you to know the basics. They expect you to have mastered the basics by the time you get there, and they're mostly concerned with keeping you physically fit in the best physical shape that you can possibly be in. That's what they're concerned about, and knowing their scheme. So they're not really teaching the basics. So for that reason, he returned back to school to get some more polish. So let's see if he can take his game to another level come 2020 season. At number 10, we have Walker Little, the offensive tackle. Now this guy, he very well could have been one of the top offensive tackles in this past draft, and he probably would have been a early 1st-round pick had he not gotten hurt. But because of the injuries, he would have fell in this draft class possibly to round 3, maybe even 4, and could have been even round 5. Who could really tell? And I'm sorry, my computer's beeping at me if this is picking up the audio. I hope it's not, but who can really tell? So he's going to return back to college. Hopefully he can stay healthy for a full season and his draft stock can rise because of that. Alright guys, from here on out, so this video is not an hour long. I'm just going to be giving you these prospects in terms of 5. At number 11, Rashad Bateman, wide receiver out of Minnesota. At number 12, Gregory Rousseau, edge rusher from Miami. At number 13, Shaun Wade, cornerback, Ohio State. Number 14, Justin Ross, wide receiver, Clemson. And number 15, Jamie Newman, quarterback out of Georgia. Rashad Bateman's a very speedy receiver. I think I got a pretty good comparison for him as well coming up in a video. So be sure you subscribe and come back for that if you want to see my comparison video. And a mock draft is coming out. A way too early mock draft is going to be coming out very soon as well. Shaun Wade, he's the opposite of Patrick Surtain, who I talked about earlier, who is better in man coverage. Shaun Wade would fit better in a zone coverage scheme, so it'll be interesting to see which one of these guys goes off the board first, and it will very likely be due to scheme fit when it comes to these guys. Jamie Newman, quarterback who transferred from Wake Forest to Georgia, very good quarterback. He struggled a little bit to stay healthy, so we're going to see how he does against some real SEC competition. Number 16, Jalen Waddle. Number 17, Javon Holland. Number 18, Trey Smith. Number 19, Dylan Moses. Number 20, Chuba Hubbard. Jalen Waddle, we're really going to get to see what he can do this year. He didn't get a lot of playing time at Alabama with Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, and of course Devonta Smith, who is a little further behind on this list, all being on that roster. But we're going to get a glimpse of his athleticism and what he can do at the receiver position this year, besides for what he can do as a return man or a gadget player. So pretty excited to watch him. He can definitely rise. Trey Smith and Dylan Moses are both two players whose the sky is the limit for those guys. Injuries, of course, are the reason they're so low on this list, but if they can stay healthy and continue to play at a high level, they'll definitely rise up this list. Trey Smith, it's more of the medical. He has blood clots in his lungs. He doesn't even practice, but he still goes out there and plays in the game because he's limited on how much physical activity he can have throughout the day. So he doesn't practice through the week, but he does go out there and play, and most of the time he is very dominant. Even against Alabama, he was very dominant against them, against Rashawn Lawrence from Alabama last year, who went to the Dolphins in this past draft. So keep an eye on Trey Smith. 21 through 25 starts off with Devonta Smith, wide receiver out of Alabama. 22, Travis Etienne, running back out of Clemson. 23, I know I'm not going to say this name right, Israel Mukama, cornerback, South Carolina. 24, Paulson Adebo, cornerback out of Stanford, and 25, Najee Harris, running back out of Alabama. Got a couple of Alabama players here on this list. I know many of you will be surprised that Travis Etienne is my third running back. Most lists you see, he is your first on, I'd say, 75% of them. Chuba Hubbard being the other 20, with Najee Harris being the other 10 or 5, excuse me. So I know my running back rankings is a little bit off, and that's because I feel like most people haven't discovered Kenneth Gainwell just yet. Travis Etienne, I like him. I like his speed. I want to see him continue to develop as a pass catching back. But other than that, he needs to add some power to his game as well if he's going to be a full-time 3-down back in the NFL. Israel Mukama is a guy who really took me by surprise this past season in South Carolina, especially with the game against Georgia. Can't remember if he had 2 or 3 interceptions, but a very long quarterback. The NFL loves that length, and he should be able to sneak into the first round because of that. At 26, we have Hassam Hazarin. I know I'm not saying that name correctly either. Safety out of Florida State. 27, Sam Cosmi, offensive tackle, Texas. 28, Tylan Wallace, wide receiver, Oklahoma State. 29, Rondell Moore, wide receiver, Purdue. And 30, Wyatt Davis, offensive guard, Ohio State. Now, Rondell Moore and Tylan Wallace are a few guys that I want to highlight here. Both speedy receivers. Rondell Moore is a very versatile receiver who can be used in the slot. He can be used as a deep threat. He can return for you. And you could even use him as a gadget player, taking handoffs out of the backfield and so on. So there's a lot of different things you can do with him. Tylan Wallace is a speedy guy who's got some length to him and a little bit of size as well. Hassam, safety, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that name again until I hear someone else pronounce it. I really like his size and his ability to come down and play in the box as well. Sam Cosmi has great size, definitely does, but he needs to add a little bit of power for the NFL. He could have declared this past year, but he didn't. He decided to return to school, and hopefully he can add some more power to his game. 31 through 35 starts off with Pat Freiermuth, tight end out of Penn State. Joe Tryon, edge rusher from Washington. Alex Leatherwood, I'm just going to call him an offensive lineman out of Alabama. Creed Humphrey, the center from Oklahoma. And Seth Williams, wide receiver, Auburn. Pat Freiermuth, I haven't got to watch a ton of tape on him. I think I've watched 1, maybe 2 games on him. I like the size. I like his ability to go up and high point the football. I need to watch and see how he is as a blocker. I've really watched mostly some of his receiving stuff, and he's a good receiver for sure. Joe Tryon, I really like his power. He plays the run very well. Very dominant edge rusher when it comes to playing the run. He even gave Penny Sewell a little bit of problems. I think he got maybe 2 or 3 hurries in his game against Oregon. Alex Leatherwood, very versatile offensive lineman. He can play guard or he can play either tackle. I think for the NFL he would work better as a guard than at tackle, and for that reason I put him as an offensive lineman instead of offensive tackle, because he really lacks the length to be an offensive tackle in the NFL. 36 starts off with Deontay Brown, offensive guard, Alabama. Carlos Basham, edge rusher, Wake Forest. The second tight end on the list, Kyle Pitts from Florida. Tamarion Terry, wide receiver, Florida State. And number 40, Quincy Roche, edge rusher, who transferred to Miami this year. One of the guys I really want to highlight in this list is Tamarion Terry, the wide receiver out of Florida State. This guy has the size. He has the run after his catch ability. He is right now one of my sleepers in this draft class, but I feel like he is going to rise and he's going to become a household name, so he's not going to be a sleeper for very long. I actually got a pretty good comparison for him too, so if you want to subscribe and come back and check that video out later, I would definitely recommend so. 41, we have Ahmad St. Brown, wide receiver, USC. Kalen Hill, running back, Mississippi State. Jay Tuffley, defensive tackle, USC. Terrence Marshall, wide receiver, LSU. And Tommy Kramer, offensive guard, Notre Dame. One of the guys I really want to highlight on this list is Ahmad St. Brown. He's an excellent route runner. He's got some speed to him too, but he is just a sturgeon when it comes to route running. Kalen Hill actually led the SEC in rushing last year, and now he has Mike Leach as his head coach, so we're probably going to see how he is as a pass catcher as well. Number 46, we have Kyle Trask, quarterback from Florida. LeBron Ray, defensive lineman, Alabama. Cade Mays, offensive tackle, Tennessee. Sage Surratt, wide receiver, Wake Forest. And the very last player on this list is quarterback Kellen Mond. So one of the guys I really wanted to highlight on this list was Sage Surratt. This guy he's got some speed to him. He is a deep threat. He tracks the football very well. But most importantly, he can play in the slot. And he's even playing a little bit at quarterback before as well. I think he's the team's emergency quarterback. He started his college career at quarterback before moving to wide receiver. So I would imagine that he has some smarts to him who can find some holes in the zone. I need to watch a little bit more of him and see if he's able to sit down in some zones where it's open at. So I need to watch a little bit more of him. But so far, I really like how he tracks the football. He can make those contested catches, and he's got some run after the catch ability. So guys, that is my video for the day. I hope you all enjoyed it. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel because there's some more great content coming out. Eventually I'm going to do videos where I talk about ranking the players in each position group. I've already started working on that a little bit. I'm just to get off here and work on a mock draft. I wanted to upload this video first, especially with Kenneth Gainwell being in the top 10 and my reasons why, before I jumped into the mock draft, to give you guys a little bit more understanding. So if you haven't seen the mock draft yet, if I've done it and it's up on the channel, it will be linked at the end of this video. And be sure to come back for the player comparison videos. I hope you guys have a great day. God bless, and I'll catch you on the next level.